Welcome to Deal Shredders.
We are your hosts, David and Greg.
We are local Nashville investors, cash buyers, and real estate agents who love to analyze your deals.
Hey, fellow listeners, thanks for tuning in. If you have not already, please check us out on Facebook, like us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or listen to us on Anchor or any other podcast means. We would love if you would leave us a review or some stars if you like what you hear. You listeners are what make our podcast grow, so please don't forget to tell your friends.
Welcome to Deal Shredders episode 10 with Chad King. Chad's partnership and his company, Blackjack Real Estate, did over 170 deals last year. Now they're switching gears, taking all that active income and turning it into equity. Find out why and their process to do just that.
Welcome. We're going to hopefully get a couple people on here soon. We are Deal Shredders, episode 10.
Boom. Double digits.
David Morgan is back. So Chad is, for the last couple of years, is a sales director of Blackjack Real Estate. He's kind of put a team together over there. He also has Titan Capital Group, which you guys kind of are acquisitions for larger multifamily units. Graduated with a degree in finance from FSU. Now, how much did that help you in your real estate career?
0%.
0%. Yeah, don't you love college degrees?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Big waste of time. I mean, I had a scholarship. If I didn't have a scholarship, I probably wouldn't have gone. But
did you play sports or anything?
No, it was a academic.
Oh, nice. That's awesome, bro.
Are you from Florida then? From Florida. Yeah, grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. Cool. Went to Tallahassee for school, got the degree in finance, then I moved down to Fort Lauderdale, met my wife down there, and we packed up shop and moved to Nashville without knowing a soul and just getting out of our comfort zone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that for work, or was that just like, hey, we got to get out of here?
That was, hey, we got to get out of here. We were a little comfortable in South Florida. Her family was down there. We had a lot of friends down there. So it was kind of one of those things. It was like we were getting very comfortable, and we were engaged, about to get married, and we got married. And a week after we got married, we packed up the U-Haul and moved to a city where we didn't know anybody.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a buddy do the same thing. He got married. Well, he dated a girl for less than a month, I think, and then they proposed. He proposed at that point.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, super aggressive. They got engaged. They got married within less than 6 months of meeting each other. And then the wedding happened, and the next day they packed up and moved across country to Portland. And so he'd known this girl all of 7 months basically, and he moved across the country. They're still married. They got a kid.
Awesome.
They're happy.
Wow.
But it's it was balls to the wall kind of thing.
Yeah. Guys, what's up? It looks like we got some people on here, so we're going to get started. So we, like I said, Deal Shredders episode 10 with Chad King. So Chad, you graduated with a finance degree from FSU. You moved up here. What possessed you to get into real estate?
Yeah, so when I got out of college, I had a degree in finance, and like you said, and the reason for that was I wanted to understand how money worked. I realized that the people that were in power had the money, or the people that were able to give a lot and be generous, right? They just had money, and I wanted to understand, so how does this money thing work? And that was one of the reasons I got the degree in finance. And I got out with the degree and realized that it doesn't teach you very much about how money actually works. I mean, you can learn how to read, somebody else's income statement, but it doesn't teach you the difference between good debt and bad debt, how interest works, and how the real game of money is played.
Right.
So that was the purpose of the degree. And then when I got out, it was, all right, so I need to figure out how to make money. So I got into Xerox, selling copiers door to door.
Oh, wow.
A salesperson can control your own check, right? Commission-only sales job. So I was selling copiers door to door for a few years. Got really good at it. I was top salesman in the company. But
was that in Nashville?
That was down in Florida.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that was so right out of college, I went to Xerox, started selling copiers, and the goal, I realized that I did not want to climb the corporate ladder. Right. There's a lot of rungs on the Xerox corporate ladder, and there was no desire to climb that ladder. So while I was at selling copiers, that was when I got into studying personal development, reading a lot of books.
Sure.
And I kept seeing this commonality with these successful people. It's real estate, everyone's involved somehow. So my wife and I took the plunge at the end of 2016. I just told her, babe, we're gonna do this real estate thing. We're gonna figure it out. I had no idea what I was doing, right? And there's a funny story, actually. I cold called Grant Cardone at his office in Miami. I made a post about this on Throwback Thursday, but I cold called him at his office in Miami, and I was working at Xerox, and he said, I asked him, I said, if you were my age, what would you do? And he said, if I was your age and I got into real estate, I'd be a billionaire by now. And that was like that final vote of confidence that I needed to be like, all right, I'm going to do this thing. So in 2016, I quit the job, went from a 6-figure earner to 0. And 2017 was just got into it. So a lot of stumbles in the beginning. I think a lot of your listeners can probably relate those struggles when you're first getting started trying to get into the industry.
For sure.
That's a good point. I mean, is there anything that stands out that you would want to share? Like, man, if I only did this differently, or like that you could maybe help somebody that's going through that?
Yeah, that's great. A great question. The biggest mistake that I made, I think, early on was not getting a coach.
Interesting.
I'd say, because I had a little bit of money saved up, and I tried a lot of things, and I realized that I was just a hamster. Like, I got my license, I was trying to do some tenant rep stuff, I was doing like real estate photography, I was just like trying a bunch of stuff. Whereas had I gotten a coach and gotten laser focused, I think I could have saved myself, that first year of really kind of banging my head against the wall.
That is really good advice. And just coming from someone like me who has a coach, I tell people that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people that are in the business for so long, they're spinning the wheels 10 or 20 years because they don't want to spend the money on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, I think the hardest part about, well, not the hardest, but one of the things with living life that's really important is you have to decide what you want out of life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you don't know how to decide, a coach comes in and like figures out how to prod and like what's going on underneath to get you to a place where you're like, oh, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, like sometimes we don't ask those tough questions of ourselves, and we're just like kind of going through the motions or doing what we're going to do to pay bills or get by.
Right.
And a coach then shows us like, no, get your crap together, man.
Right.
So was your coach like a coach, or was with an organization?
Yeah. So for me personally, what the leveraging of coaches and mentors, it was, for one thing, like a book can be a great mentor. Like you can look at books as mentors and coaches too. So for those of you on a limited budget, you can utilize that. And what I did after about 6 or 7 months of banging my head against the wall was I got involved with a mentor of mine, and basically was able to accelerate by getting into business with somebody. And there's a lesson there of you don't necessarily need to recreate the wheel, right? You can get into a vehicle that's already going forward, and it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. And you can go further, farther, or faster together if you just hop into a vehicle with somebody that's willing to put their foot on the gas pedal like you want to. And that's ultimately what I did. Is I found that niche in wholesaling, and I was doing like 1 or 2 deals a month, but I wasn't scaling, right? And I was great at sales. That was my kind of my superpower, was the sales. But I didn't understand the marketing or how to generate the leads. So I got involved with Blackjack Real Estate, who I'm with now.
Okay.
They were great at generating the leads, and I came in and said, let me run the sales for you guys. And then we ultimately just, kind of blew up from there. And then I moved to Nashville. We started doing really well in Nashville, and now we're in 5 markets. Did 170 deals last year.
Awesome.
With these guys. So it's great. And that's a lesson to the listeners. Like, sometimes you can partner up and go together.
Yeah, so finding someone that like is doing what you want to do, that has the same mindset as you, or a mindset that you want to become.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people ultimately should go through multiple different mentors and coaches before they find that fit.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be different people for different seasons of your life and business that work.
100%. I just got a new coach 6 months ago. So
Yeah.
your coaches, yourself, your coaches are going to evolve too.
Yeah, and I feel like if you outgrow your coach did their job.
100%.
If you're with the same coach for a long time, you may be doing very, very well, but you want to outgrow that person so you can get to that next level and find a higher level coach.
Yeah. And I think most people, the problem is a lot of people look at coaching as an expense, and you got to really look at it as an investment.
Absolutely.
Right? Because what you're doing is you're cutting that learning curve, and you can get all of their knowledge and the mistakes that they may have taken 20 years to make, and you can accelerate that all and get all that knowledge in the first 6 or 8 months.
Yeah,
right?
for new agents, they ask, do they want to buy Zillow leads and Realtor.com leads? Like, no, get a coach first.
Yeah.
That is what you spend your first marketing dollars on as a coach.
Yeah.
And then you do all the free stuff and you learn the game, and then you can spend money and scale.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So tell us a little bit. So last year you guys did 170 units.
170 deals.
170 deals.
Yeah. Wholesale and flip. Yeah.
Wholesales and flips. So you transitioned from that. So what is the plan for Blackjack this year?
A lot more.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're in 5 markets now, and like I mentioned, and just continuing to scale and grow, get that profit margin up, and figure out how to do the same amount, more deals,
Sure.
spending less money, because it's getting more expensive to do deals nowadays. You know, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot more fishermen fishing in the fishing hole, and there's a lot of people getting into this industry, low barrier to entry. So figuring out how to still be a large organization and be able to still get to those deals quicker and do a lot more deals with a lot less operating expenses.
So we're episode 10 with Chad King. If you have any questions for Chad or for David or I, go ahead and put it in the comments and we'll get to them at the end.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, with an organization that's obviously in 5 markets, I'm assuming you're measuring KPIs on a pretty decent level, saying, hey, in this market we're seeing that an acquisition cost is roughly this, or we're getting leads at this cost in comparison to this market. Are you seeing trends across all those markets that they're the same? Or are you seeing drastic differences, whether you're in the Nashville market or the Pensacola market or Chattanooga?
Wherever, yeah.
Yeah, for cost of leads or cost of deal acquisitions.
Yeah, great question. The cost per acquisition in Nashville is almost double what it is in, let's say, Huntsville or Bowling Green. Like, it is much more expensive to do business in the primary market. And then what we're also seeing is our cost per deal is rising in some of these tertiary markets, such as Pensacola. There's more people that are coming in. It costs us more money to get a deal. So yeah, we're tracking our cost per deal, and we're noticing a rise. It costs almost twice as much money to get a deal now than it did 3 years ago.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just to get the phone to ring is expensive. So when people get into this business, deals are the hardest thing to find. It's not money. Like, you get a deal, Greg, you guys find a deal. The money's there.
We make a few phone calls and stuff.
If the money's there. The money's not hard to get. And a lot of people get hung up, like, I can't find the money. Don't worry about that. Like, finding the deal is the gold.
That is a really good point. And, there's new investors that all the time, they're trying to find lenders and find hard money. Don't worry about that. And they're like, well, nobody's talking with me, because you have to have a deal first. It starts with a deal and it works backwards.
Yeah.
So if you can find a deal, you'll find everything else.
Well, and preface that with, there's only one rule in real estate, in my opinion. It's what you buy for. Because if you don't buy right, it is so when we're talking about deals, finding real deals, not deals that
that have certain equity in them.
Yeah, you got to find something with real meat on the bone, which, as we were talking earlier, Davidson County has become a little bit more difficult to find the deals. And so because of that, you're in outside markets where there's, I'm assuming, 70% minus repairs is probably a little easier to find, where that doesn't exist in Davidson County.
You're
75%.
90%.
But to your point, sometimes that means you got to get more creative, like stuff that you're doing. If you can't get those deals that are not cookie cutter neighborhood, 70% ARV minus repairs, you're gonna have to get creative and figure out, hey, can I rezone it?
What is the hidden value? For sure.
Yeah, you're gonna have to look for that hidden value add, like you said.
Yeah,
it's gonna be critical.
That specialized knowledge is key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
I mean, and you get paid in proportion to the problems that you solve. So you got to be able to solve more difficult problems. You get paid in proportion to the level of difficulty of the problem.
The bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck.
Right. Absolutely. And the more complex the problem, the more complex, more bigger the paycheck.
Yeah.
So Blackjack Realty or real estate.
Yeah.
Y'all are doing wholesales and a few flips here and there. And then let's talk about, you have another business, Titan Investments.
Titan Capital Group.
Titan Capital Group. Talk to us a little bit about that, the goal of that business, how did that come about?
Yeah, why did you decide to branch off?
Yeah, absolutely. So Titan Capital Group it's still in the infancy stages. We got a few properties under contract and in process, but the goal is, what I realized after last year is 170 deals is great, but it was all transactional.
Okay, so what do you mean by that? Let's break that down a little bit. It's transactional, meaning it's just one paycheck per deal?
Yep. Do a deal, get a paycheck.
And cash is great, but cash flow is key.
Absolutely. Grant Cardone.
But even on that though, it's like you did 170 deals. You know, like a lot of people out there, if you made $1,000 a deal, I mean that's 170 grand a year. You know, why is that not appealing to you?
Because I got to go out because of all the hustle that it took to do it, I just got to go out and do it all again. And
it's not scalable to the level of wealth that you're wanting, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
And you kind of trade your lifestyle for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to have active income. You have to be able to make money. You have to be able to make money. But you also have to figure out how to multiply it. Money needs to be working for you. So the whole point of Titan Capital Group is to get that money that we're making, that the active income that we're going out and hustling for, because you got to go out and hustle, you got to make it. And then once you make it, you got to deploy it and get it to work for you. So Titan Capital Group, the whole purpose of that organization is to identify value-add assets, C, B class. We're looking, in between 20 and 150 units to deploy capital into these value-add assets, force appreciation, get the cash flow, tax benefits, all the stuff that comes along with commercial real estate. And that's going to be the long-term wealth vehicle, right?
Right. So you're making your money and you're investing it. So you're keeping a small amount for yourself, because when you're investing your money into commercial multifamily, you've got your tax benefits. So you're not, it changes like your whole financial picture when you're able to find the value add deals.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we just did a deal, Greg, you and I just did a deal, and we just did a cost segregation study, and it's going to wipe out almost our entire tax bill for this year. For last year.
Yeah, it really helped me
Yeah.
because I was very income heavy last year. So like saving 25 grand on my taxes
that's a big deal, man.
Bottom line tax. Yeah, that's your bottom line number.
Yeah. So then I kind of didn't pay my taxes just to wait for that to come in, because I didn't want to pay my fourth quarter quarterlies.
And then you're like, oh, by the way, I owe a check for this amount of money.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
Yeah, it was really cool that we did. So for people that don't know what a cost segregation is, you want to explain what that is?
Yeah. So cost segregation study basically takes it's a tax law that you can accelerate the depreciation of an asset into year 1 and 2, which is normally a 27.5-year amortization schedule. And basically what they do is, if you buy a building, right, they take the value of the land out of it and actually the value of the building itself, and then they go in and look at all the depreciable assets, the countertops, the cabinets, the light fixtures, the flooring, all that stuff, and they give it a value, right? And which, after they give it a value, they do that study. You can take all that value and accelerate and take that depreciation in year 1.
So what happens after year 1 and year 2? Let's pretend that you and I and Eric were just like, hey, we want to sell the building next year.
Yeah.
So obviously we would have to do a 1031 exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Would that cover the basis of the cost?
Well, then if you get into that, they'll actually, the IRS will recapture that depreciation, because you can't take all that write off and then sell the building next year. So we couldn't sell this year and still take that depreciation. So you got to be careful.
So how does that work? Like if we wanted to sell, basically.
Yeah, there's a certain threshold of amount of years. I think it's like 5 or 7. Once you get past that 5 or 7, then there's also an amortization schedule along with the cost seg study. So once you get past a certain year threshold, we can sell it without them coming back and trying to grab that depreciation.
Plus, it's going to appreciate in value in 5 to 7 years. So you're kind of going to wipe it out twice.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's safe to say that building's only going one way, and the tenants are paying down the debt.
Yeah.
We don't have a ton of cash in that deal.
No.
We're just going to hang on to that.
And just, and then also, just for everybody to know, we've also agreed not to take any income off of the deal, off of the building. We're just putting it back into fixing it up and
debt service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the cash flow is just going into turning those units, so then we can get the rents up.
Yeah.
And then in 3 to 5 years, hell, we might even refinance or just sell.
Not even that 3 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so ours is in Clarksville, and that market's appreciating like Nashville did a few years ago. We may not even have to wait that long for a significant appreciation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not saying we were gonna, but we did.
Right. Yeah, a lot of cool things you can do with commercial is the next level, and all roads eventually lead there. I think we talked just briefly right now about the difference between transactional and equity, and for somebody who's listening and saying, my wife and I are going to go out and flip houses and we're going to become financially free, be very careful, because going out and doing wholesale deals and flipping houses, unless you're going to build a business that does that,
right,
it's really not a path to financial freedom. It's a great way to make money.
It's a high-paying job.
It's a high-paying job.
You buy yourself jobs for sure.
Great way to make money, but be careful, because people think, I'm going to go flip houses and become an investor. So you're just creating a job for yourself.
You're only, it's not, I mean, flipping houses, like I've heard so many different people say, but like flipping houses is almost not investing. It's just making income.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's almost like it's almost a short-term investment, but it's
different. It's different if you're doing the Burr method. Then yes,
absolutely.
Most people are just making money.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can make great money, and you can make six figures very easily flipping houses. Mm-hmm. 2 or 3 deals a year, if not less, depending on what market you're in. And for a lot of people, they can live very comfortably off that. But when we talk about legacy building and we talk about wealth building, like 6 figures won't move the needle for legacy. And honestly, anything less than Grant Cardone talks about at least $10 million, like before you even really start to move the needle in terms of a legacy move.
Right.
So you have to flip a ton of houses, and we're not even talking about like tax burdens and all those. Flipping houses is the hardest tax bracket period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I knew a guy in Florida. He had so you got to have a strategy is what we're kind of talking about. If you're going to flip, that's great. Flip, make money, but you need to have a long-term strategy. I had a guy in Florida that I thought had a great strategy. Is for every house he'd flip, he'd buy a rental. So he'd flip one and he'd buy and hold one. Flip one, buy and hold one. And then, by the time you end up flipping 10 houses, then you got some nice passive income coming in.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to get to, is that passive income, that mailbox money. I think that's what everybody's chasing, right?
For sure. I think the hard part is where if you come from a background where you haven't really made any money and you think that you're going to get into real estate and flip houses, there's like this disconnection to realize like flipping is hard and it's also very capital intensive. Mm-hmm. So if you come from a background where you haven't made any money, it is hard to get into it. Like wholesaling, that's why people say if you don't have any money, do wholesaling, build up some cash, and you can go into flipping. The reason the natural progression is from wholesaling to flipping because wholesaling you make 5, 10 grand paychecks. You go to flipping, maybe you're making 30, 40, 50 or more. Ultimately, you can accelerate that growth, make larger chunks of cash, and then if you know what you're doing, you're parking that money in long-term investments.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you almost want to offset your income. Like, for me, I like to keep my living expenses, everything down. I don't buy cars. I don't buy clothes.
Yeah.
My house is modest. So you have to live
stay broke.
Yeah, live really conservatively.
Yeah.
And then, for me, it's like when I have enough cash flow to buy something I want, I'll do it because I earned it through cash flow, not because I have money. I'm not going to use my investable funds.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to buy. That's one of the problems with, I think, the education system. That's a whole other podcast you could do, but it's the fiscal responsibility is not being taught. What is an asset and what is a liability? What you're talking about is not buying liabilities, but only buying assets.
Right.
And I think that's a huge thing for the younger generation to realize is like you should not be, when you make money, don't go out and buy a car. You need to go out and buy an asset that produces income.
Right.
Take that income and then
drive it, have a car that works. I mean, I still, every year I want to buy a truck and I still can't justify the cost.
I drove here. My truck's got 160,000 miles on it. I've had it since senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not spending money on this.
No, no way.
My car's paid off. I get it. I could obviously buy something a lot nicer, but there's
no
reason.
I can go buy an F-150, $50,000, or I can buy a house or a quad, down payment on a quad or something.
Right. And that's for where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And once you get to the point where you have $100,000 a month in passive income, go get yourself a nice car. You earned it.
Absolutely.
Well, it's the Robert Kiyosaki thought, like, go out there and make enough passive income to support the lifestyle that you want so you don't have to compromise the lifestyle, basically, in the short term.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah. I'm a big Kiyosaki fan, too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm curious what your thoughts are on Grant Cardone's philosophy on, like, don't buy a house.
Well, so...
I know. I'm talking about personal residence.
Yeah. A personal residence.
Because he's very adamant about this. I don't know if you're familiar with Grant Cardone.
Yeah, he says rent where you live and own what you can rent.
Yeah.
So what he means is, rent where you actually live and then own buildings that you can rent out. Mm-hmm. I believe it. I mean, for me, when it comes to buying a house, if I just mentioned it before, as long as there's the financial literacy piece behind it, like knowing that house is a liability, it's not an asset. That is the biggest, I think, myth that is taught to the generation is that the house is an asset. It's not. The house is a liability unless you make it an asset. Right? And the way you make it an asset is, so like my wife and I, we have a home equity line of credit, right? Mm-hmm. So our house is paid off, right? But I'd borrow money against the house to invest in real estate. And we just have a line of credit. So now that house actually has become an asset because the value of the house can actually buy me real estate.
Yeah.
Versus people who get a mortgage and now the equity is sitting and it's trapped and it's actually dying in that house.
So you have a first position or second position?
First position.
I actually just closed on a first position line of credit on my primary.
Nice.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I kind of hold to the school of thought that if you have the financial education, it can be an asset.
Mm-hmm.
I do something a little bit differently because I build and renovate properties. My personal residence, I build and get as much equity as I can, sit on it for 2 years, and I take the tax advantage of rolling that equity into my next primary. And I've done that twice, and I'm working on my third time now. By the time I get to my fourth or fifth time, I would have built up north of $1 million over the course of 8 or 10 years, tax-free.
Yeah. Are you saying you wait the 2 years? Is that to avoid capital gains?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
As your primary residence.
Yeah.
So basically, because I build at, let's say, 50 or 60 cents on the dollar in comparison to the equity I can get in the property, and then I sit on that for 2 years, I can then sell the property, take all those gains tax-free, which at that point is like making an extra 35%.
Yep.
And then I take that and I roll that into my next primary. I do that again and again. And it's made me quite a bit of money over the last
It's
4
like
or 5
one
years.
strategy that you're working on.
Yeah,
this
is like a side hustle on
Yeah.
top of all the other stuff going on.
Yeah.
It can make you an extra few $100,000 every
Yeah.
few years if you do it right.
That's the great part about real estate, though. There's so many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Like it's, people, a lot of times when people who aren't in real estate, you say you're in real estate, they're like, oh, you're an agent. Like they just think you're an agent.
Yeah,
But there's so many ways to skin a cat.
Oh,
Not really. I'm an agent, but
I have
not
my
really.
license, but I don't really.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
a lot of ways to
Are
skin
you
a cat.
licensed, Chad?
Yeah.
Where do you have your license?
Cloud?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, go with Phil, right?
Yeah.
Phil.
Yeah.
Phil,
I-
yeah.
I don't
He's
really
really
use
good.
my. He's a great dude. I
Yeah,
don't
he's
really
a-
use my license. I just use it. I just have it really.
And where are you licensed, David?
I'm over at Adaro.
You're at Daro?
Yeah, it's underneath the car. Like it's like their.
That's how much we know about. That's how much that comes in conversation.
Yeah, it's like their flat fee. It's just like
Flat
cloud,
fee.
basically. I pay per transaction. That's it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you've got your blackjack is making you money. You're investing it into Titan Capital.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the ultimate goal?
Be a billionaire, like.
Ultimate goal is to help a lot of people and be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, for however long as I want, however long I want, and be able to make an impact. And we live in a world where it takes money to make. We live on an economic planet.
Yeah.
We need money to make an impact. And
Yeah.
so I'm working right now to get my financial picture right, so then that I can go out and help others do the same, and then also go out and help the ones that are less fortunate than myself.
Yeah.
But you have to. It's not selfish to focus on getting wealthy. Like it's selfish to not get wealthy.
Yeah.
It's selfish to not share how to do it.
It's
Yeah.
selfish. Yeah, absolutely.
Self-love is not selfish, in my opinion. You take
No.
care of your stuff. I say this all the time. If I can't take care of my stuff, how can I take care of anybody else?
Absolutely.
If I can't get to a place where like my abundance like overflows, and then I can be paying for other people's food or trips or lunch
yeah,
or
for sure.
or nonprofit or whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
If I can't take care of my own stuff, then I'm never going to have the option to be able to do anything else.
Or share your time, your
For
most
sure.
valuable asset.
Yes.
And then when you get your money right and you have enough equity and passive income working for you, where now I can share my most valuable asset is my time.
Yeah.
With
Which
others.
is your most valuable asset anyway. You just have to buy it.
Yeah.
So then how does that play out in the future? Like, what are you really passionate about or legacy, if you're open to sharing that?
So my target is, I don't have a good answer for you. I just,
Yeah.
It's just doing something that leaves an impact.
doing something that makes an impact. I have
And
a
it
lot of,
changes, I'm sure. You know,
Yeah.
your life changes. You're going to have different interests, meet different people,
Yeah,
different
sure.
perspectives.
there's an organization that we support, Operation Underground Railroad. It's an organization that aims to eliminate child sex trafficking. And like, I would love to be able to just, go with them on their missions and just, pack up for a couple months and go to Haiti with them. And so, I mean, there's those kind of things that I have the desire to do. And you got to get your financial picture right to be able to do them.
It's awesome, man.
Those kind of
The ability to pack up and leave for 3 months and then come back in business might be falling apart.
things.
basically.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you have to create a business that you don't have to be there and work every day for. You have to create it, have the people, so you can go do that thing, go do those things for
Yeah.
sure.
Sustainability, scalability.
Yeah,
all that.
Absolutely. It's the freedom piece. And I think everybody's pretty much aligned. That's what we're after,
Yeah.
right? And
everybody wants to live their life on their terms, even if they won't admit to it. That's what they want. But they want to be able to do what they want to do when they want to do it.
And money is a magnifying glass. So money amplifies who you already are. So if you wouldn't give $1 out of 10, you're not going to give $1 million out of 10 million. So money amplifies who you are. So if you're a generous person, money will allow you to be more generous.
Yeah.
If you're an asshole, money's going to make you a bigger asshole.
Oh yeah.
So the way that I am now, like I know when I get wealthy and I get money, I'm just going to be more of that person, right? Wanting to help. And if I have more money, I can help more people. So, gotta get your financial picture right.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to close with?
No.
Cool.
I'm good.
Well, guys,
There's a few comments.
do we have some comments? Let me peek at these real quick.
3. I don't know.
All right. I'm gonna go peek, and Sam Fenn says yes.
What's up?
What's up, Sam? What's up, everybody?
Hey, Sam.
Scrolling down, great information. Thanks, Jeremy. Scrolling down, Patrick Miller. Thanks for the video. You're welcome, brother. Share it, guys. If you don't mind sharing this on your pages so other people can see it. But I think we're gonna wrap up episode 10.
I did a deal with Patrick.
Oh yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, did a joint venture deal.
A little wholesale or something?
We did a wholesale. Yeah, we actually closed on it. He brought the lead to me. We closed on it.
You listed.
Slapped it on the market. I put it on the market myself. I got it, slapped it on the market.
Wholetailing is becoming a great little niche right now.
Yeah.
That's what you got. But wholetailing it's almost necessary now because there's not enough meat to wholesale something.
And everybody wants, the values are high.
Yeah.
So you almost have to find the little needle just to be able to.
Yeah. So you got to be able to close on them, and we turned around and I didn't even touch it. We turned around and put it back on the
Sign
market.
in the yard the next day. Kind of thing.
Yeah. We paid $169 for it. Turned around, sold it under contract a week later for $225.
Yeah.
Boom.
Did you close out with hard money?
Yep.
Yeah.
Lending home, 100% financing.
Oh,
love it.
Yeah, especially when it appraises like 30, 40, 50 grand easily over it. Yeah. Those are the great ones where you're like, I bought really well.
Yep.
I can't screw this up.
Right. Yeah, and that's a good one too. If you find a good deal, like we didn't come out of pocket $1. It was a great deal. It's in good shape. You just close on it, put it right back on the market. See what you get.
When you have those lender relationships like that, they will lend to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I had a blast talking to you guys.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, so episode 10, Deal Shredders, Mr. Chad King, Mr. David Morgan's back.
What's up?
And I'm going to sign this sucker off.
See you guys.
See you guys.